We're back with John DiLeo for another edition of No Small Parts. Thanks, John, for joining us again.
Thanks, Nick. We're here again to talk about my book, There Are No Small Parts, 100 Outstanding Film Performances with Screen Time of 10 minutes or less. And today, it's actually one of the longer ones. This one's actually 10 minutes long. We're going to talk about Gladys Cooper in one of the favorite Christmas movies of all time, The Bishop's Wife from 1947. And she has a wonderful part because she gets to play the movie's Scrooge character, this rich and very disliked woman who wields her power and tries to make sure everyone stays afraid of her all the time. And so people kowtow to her solely because of her wealth. And of course, she's trying to build this big cathedral in the memory of her late husband. And of course, we have an angel played by Cary Grant who will come down and sort of, he knows everything and is able to find out everything. And the great transition that Gladys Cooper has in this movie is when Grant reminds her of her great love that nobody knows about. A young man, a young composer that she was deeply in love with, but she jilted this guy to marry the wealthy Mr. Hamilton. And so she's been sort of building these monuments to this husband, basically out of guilt because she never really loved him. She's been a widow, I don't know how long, but that's been her thing, to sort of erect this fantasy of this great love that she had when secretly she didn't love him and was carrying this torch for this man. And this guilt over, as I said, jilting this man who could have given her all of the love that she wanted, if not all the stuff that she wanted. And now she's basically living alone in this cavernous castle with only the servants. And of course, Cary Grant is able to bring this out of her, change her outlook, and her final scenes are Scrooge-like in the sense of all she wants to do is give and be loving, and it's just a beautiful transition. You know, Gladys Cooper was an English actress, a great stage actress on the London stage, and she made her American debut in Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca from 1940 as Laurence Olivier's sister. It's not as showy a role as, of course, Mrs. Danvers in that film, but she makes a really great impression. But she's really remembered in the 40s for two very scary women that she played, and both of which got her Oscar nominations. First in 1942 as Bette Davis's terrifying, emotionally cruel mother in Now Voyager, and then in 1943 in The Song of Bernadette as a very scary, really terrifying nun, who again has a beautiful transition toward the end of the movie. So those are two really kind of electrifying performances. And she got a third Oscar nomination much later as Rex Harrison's mother in My Fair Lady. But she could do comedy, like she's very funny as Judy Garland's aunt in The Pirate. But she's one of those people, you just see her, you know you're in good hands. You know whatever she has to do, she'll do it impeccably. And like I said, in this one she gets to do both sort of facets of her persona. She is terrifying at first as Mrs. Hamilton, making everyone bow and scrape, and then she has that beautiful transition where she's open and loving and wonderful, and you know, she's always terrific. And it's a lovely movie, The Bishop's Wife. It is one of the ones that does come around as Christmas movies do, but this seems to be, I'd say, in the top 5 favorites from Hollywood's golden age, along with It's a Wonderful Life and A Miracle on 34th Street, and I guess White Christmas, you know, in that crowd of holiday movies. And you've got Cary Grant, of course, but you've also got Loretta Young and David Niven, and they're all wonderful. And Elsa Lanchester, who is also in my book for Bride of Frankenstein. She's in this movie too as a servant who develops a mad crush on Angel Cary Grant, and she's quite delightful too. On the stage in London, and quite a big star in her youth. She doesn't come to American movies till she's in her, I'd say, later 40s.
Playing the mothers.
Yeah, certainly middle age, and then growing into older age. So movies of the 40s, 50s, and to a lesser extent the 60s as she's getting older. But really her big run of movies is in the 40s. And then she goes back to the stage. She does other Broadway shows too. So after a life in the theater, to have then another life in film, primarily, must have been wonderful for people like that. And she was so usable, like you said. She could be a type, but she could give you more than that. But if you needed a type, she was the one you wanted.
Right. Good for her, and I'm glad we got to know her through the movies because
Yes.
I was too young to go to the theater back then.
Yes, yes. So weren't we all?
Thanks again, John.